what is innovation? At MIT, we like equations, so we like to define innovation. And this comes from one of my first classes at MIT from Ed Roberts, the chairman of the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship. And he defined entrepreneurship in a way that I thought was excellent. He said, innovation equals invention, and let me just stop here. Innovation equals invention. Often people mistake these two things for the same thing. Innovation equals invention. They are not. Innovation is something that generates value for the world. It makes something faster, better, cheaper. It gives someone some great satisfaction. An invention is an idea, a technology, a patent. In and of itself, it does not generate value. So these two are not the same thing. And sometimes you see them interchange, and that's not correct. So innovation equals invention times commercialization. So, and when we look at this equation of innovation, something of value, it requires a new idea, and then it requires someone or some organization that is going to commercialize that idea and to make it of value to the world. So it's important to understand that an idea by itself is not valuable. Ideas are cheap. It's the commercialization when combined with it that makes them extraordinarily valuable. So while sometimes, when I used to say invention plus commercialization, in fact, it's a product, because if I don't have one, then it's zero, then I have no innovation. If I have no new idea, I can't commercialize anything, therefore it's zero. If I have an invention and no commercialization, I have no innovation as well. So it's actually a product, and we found this very, very helpful to help explain to people what is innovation when we're talking about innovation-driven entrepreneurship. So next I want to talk about what drives this. When we look at the idea, people think that this drives innovation. It's in fact the commercialization aspect of it that's very, very difficult. If you look at the most innovative company in the world today, which I would argue is Apple, the underlying inventions that created Apple, great innovations, starting with the Mac, did not come from themselves. It actually came from Xerox PARC. It was Windows Icon Mouse Pointer. That invention they commercialized to create innovation, which created terrific value in the marketplace and for their customers, and for themselves, their investors as well. Likewise, after that, you look again that the invention for the underlying enabling idea technology from the iPod was MP3, which did not come from Apple. Again, that came from Fraunhofer. But what Apple was terrific at was commercialization to create innovation, and again, to create great value for their customers and their shareholders. So this definition of innovation we found very, very helpful to make clear that innovation is a combination of a new idea, a new technology, but then it has to be commercialized and mapped to some customer in the real world where it will generate value. The next thing I want to talk about is what types of innovation are there? We at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology think about technology, but we also think about a lot of other things. If you have types of innovation, you can have technology. But you can also have process innovations as well. You can have process innovations where we change a process, someone looks at something, says this can be done differently. We also can have business model innovations. This is probably one of the most interesting areas right now because you see terrific value creation in innovative business models. Not just things like Blockbuster or Salesforce, but the underlying innovation at Google that was creating value, I would argue, is the new way that they do advertising. Previously, before that, there were banner ads, but Google, again, took the idea from Overture with Bill Gross and commercialized that to change the name, to change the game for business models, how they extracted their value. They did it by Google AdWords, so they were advertising using the words as opposed to just the real estate. Another one that's very interesting when you talk about innovative business models, one of the, in hindsight, looking back at iTunes now, one of the big breakthroughs that made iTunes successful was before them, everybody was charging on a subscription basis for the music. What Apple did was they charged 99 cents per song and you got to keep it. Turns out that was a very good business model innovation as to how to price it and extract value, because that made it more familiar with the past where they were buying CDs and the like. So business model innovation is a very interesting one. You can also have positioning, how you position yourself, and then we'll just say other, because it's hard to limit your types of innovation. Now, when you have types of innovation, I would also say that we also have categories of innovation. And in this case, we have disruptive, which is the word that we hear so often now. This is disruptive, this is disruptive. That can be a very good thing if you're not the entrenched player. If you're the new player in the market, you want disruptive. However, if you're the entrenched player, you're looking for incremental innovation that says this is 10% better, 20% better. And the last one I'll say is that a very interesting one is what we'll call lateral innovation, or I think Stephen Tomke at Harvard calls it general innovation. And this is something that was an innovation that you saw in another industry and you're just bringing back into your industry. Now, why do I have types and categories? Because in this case, you could have a technology that was disruptive innovation, you could have a technology that's incremental, or you could have a technology that's already worked in another industry and you bring it in. So really what you have is a matrix where you have 3 different categories for each type. And there could be more, but my point here is that as we're about to go through these 24 steps, innovation can be driven by a number of things. It's not just technology. And sometimes your innovation can be disruptive, and sometimes it can be incremental, and sometimes it can be general. All of these are good, and it depends on your situation. Don't just look for disruptive technological innovations.